sports enthusiasts. You've just stepped into the ultimate podcast for all things in youth sports. After the Game is where we break down the game within the game, from coaching strategies to the role of parents and the secrets behind running a top-tier program. Expect insightful conversations, expert tips, and a whole lot of sports banter. Whether you're a coach, a parent, or a player chasing dreams, this is your go-to spot. So fasten your seatbelts. Here are your hosts, Ryan and Chad. Let's dive into the action.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 12. Tonight's special guest is Vanya Koepke. Vanya is a remarkable individual whose journey weaves through diverse cultures and experiences, shaping him into the dynamic person he is today. Adopted from Russia in the aftermath of the Soviet Union's collapse, Vanya found his home and family in America. Raised by nurturing American parents, he imbibed the values of his new homeland while cherishing the richness of his Russian heritage. From a young age, Vanya exhibited a passion for success and a deep-rooted commitment to his faith. His upbringing instilled in him a strong sense of community and a desire to uplift those around him. Excelling academically, he distinguished himself as an honor student at UW Green Bay, laying the foundation for his future endeavors. Embarking on his professional journey, Vanya found his calling at Schneider, where he honed his skills and rose through the ranks with determination and diligence. Yet amidst his professional pursuits, Vanya never lost sight of his love for sports. Remaining actively engaged, he found fulfillment as a basketball referee for schools, fostering a spirit of fair play and sportsmanship. In addition to his myriad of accomplishments, Vanya is also an author, penning the inspirational book, You Are Here for a Purpose. Through his work, he extends his message of hope, encouragement, and empowerment to readers, urging them to embrace their unique purpose and live life to the fullest. With heartfelt wisdom and personal anecdotes, Vanya's book serves as a beacon of light for those navigating life's challenges, guiding them towards fulfillment and self-discovery. Driven by a deep-seated desire to serve his community, Vanya's involvement extended beyond the workplace and sports arena. Recognizing the importance of civic engagement, he dedicated himself to public service, earning the esteemed position of a member of the Hobart Village Board of Trustees. In this role, he tirelessly advocates for the welfare of his fellow citizens, embodying the principles of integrity, empathy, and leadership. Vanya's story is a testament to the power of resilience, faith, and the transformative impact of community. With each endeavor, he continues to inspire those around him, leaving an indelible mark on the lives he touches and the world he seeks to uplift. Vanya, how are you this evening?
Ryan, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for that kind introduction. And I feel like we can almost say, all right, cut it right there. Good night, all.
You wouldn't be the first guest that said that. So, Vanya, first thing I think myself and a lot of other people are interested in understanding and knowing about you is, can you share with us some of the pivotal moments or experiences from your childhood in Russia and your transition to life in America that have shaped you to who you are today?
Yeah, for sure, Ryan. And part of my story starts even prior to me being born. It's when my biological father was in the Russian Navy and his submarine sunk. 27 of the 30 men on board died as a submarine sank and was on the bottom for hours. And only him and two others were rescued. So he witnessed his fellow officers pass away. One of them shot himself. And so out of that, my dad lost his wife. He lost his two daughters who left him because he became an alcoholic after that. And he was at a point of almost no return. He contemplated suicide at times. He had no money, an alcoholic. And he went to the back of a hospital to buy some old pierogies for food at a discounted price. And that's where he met my mom. She was a nurse who was selling those pierogies, and they weren't married, but they had me. And my dad was 52. My mom was 45. So that in itself was pretty impressive that they could pull me off. I was born a healthy baby. Almost passed away from a few complications. I had to break my left collarbone to get me out. Age 2, I had a severe cold as well. Age of 3, I have vivid memories of seeing my biological mom. When we left the house, she was painting the ceiling. When I came back, she was on the floor with white paint all around her. She had a heart attack when I was 3, and she passed away. So I was left with my dad, who was an alcoholic. He loved me, but he was never around. And my 3 aunts and 2 uncles, and extended family, who would come and take care of me, clean up my mess in the crib. They'd bring me food. They showed me love. But that was really the origin that is my foundation and my roots I remember to this day.
Wow, that's quite an incredible beginning to your story there. The father who has essentially, I would say, I could only describe that as PTSD, and he's dealing with it in his own way with alcohol, which is obviously one of the worst ways you can deal with such a damaged individual. What's surprising about you is that everything that I've just read about you and how accomplished you are, I don't think people would expect that that's the type of person that would be the product of that kind of beginning. So there's and not picking on anyone, but there's no, you seem to not have a victim mentality. Whereas there's a lot of other people that would use any of those things that affected them as a child as a reason why they can't be successful as an adult. So what's so different there? Why is it that you stand out among others and you're not utilizing that as a crutch?
Yeah, for sure, Ryan. For me, it is mind blowing to think the opportunity I have today in America with a loving family, loving wife, great job, great education. But when I think back to being ages 3 to 5, walking the streets of my neighborhood, asking for food, asking for help, um, I saw the goodness and the light in those people who chose to bless me, chose to help me. And so early on, I saw that seed that you can extend a helping hand to somebody in the corner and pull them out of corner, even if you have had many corner moments in your life. And from there, it was really my parents, Paul and Dawn Koepke, who adopted me at the age of 10. And despite me not being adopted with a host family at the age of 6 in Spain, or with a host family from Long Island, New York at the age of 8, I had some questions, some resentment. But despite those moments, when I saw my parents from Wisconsin sacrifice financially, family time, and so many other areas, and adopt myself and my sister Galina when I was 10 and she was 5, it again gave me that example that even though you have to make sacrifices, even though life is hard, when you extend your hand and you help somebody out, it truly is more of a blessing to be a blessing than to wait for blessings to fill your life. So I would say between those grandpa and grandmas in Tomsk, Russia, my extended family in Russia, and then my family here in America today.
So really, you are extra blessed because you have such a large extended family between Russia and the States. So your journey from being adopted after the collapse of the Soviet Union, that became an integral part of your American community. It's truly inspiring. So how do you balance and integrate the values of both cultures in your daily life?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, um, I'll start off with the more of a less important thing, but still, food, right? In Russia, I never had fast food. I never had soda. I was adopted at the age of 10. I fly in, we land in O'Hare. And in O'Hare, they said, "Welcome to America. Here's a cheeseburger and a Coke." And I love that. I was like, that is amazing. But I am proud of my Russian heritage. I'm proud of um, learning the value of hard work, washing the concrete step at the Russian orphanage at ages 5 to 10, peeling a bucket of potatoes to make food for us between ages 5 and 10, without a potato peeler, with an actual knife. Of having rough starting out, but also treasuring those moments with my aunt and uncle of going to our dacha or the garden and plant different vegetables and fruits and can them. And really just the food. Love the food in Russia, love the history, the heritage. But at the same time, I am an American. I love our country. America is the most exceptional country in the world. We have the most remarkable document in the Constitution, in our founding fathers. In the time that we've had one Constitution, Russia, I believe, has had at least 14, if I recall correctly. So that is pretty remarkable. And so for me, when I weigh the two cultures, right, my country of birth and my heritage of Russia, I love my family there. I have a second cousin and her family in Ukraine as well. So when I, look at even the political climate today, I often get asked, "What are your thoughts on that?" And and for me, I am very, very concerned that Russia is making the moves that they are, that they are attacking a democracy, a country that has its own government, and that's wrong and it's uncalled for. Um, but at the same time, I also think of my extended family in Ukraine who's had to go to Poland, and I do wish peace for them and the rest of the Russian family as well, because the people don't make the decisions. It's often the government and the leaders. So for me, proud of my Russian heritage, but even more proud to be an American and have America be that shining city on the hill for the rest of the world.
I couldn't agree more about that. I think we really are a beacon of light, and uh, we we are a symbol of what a country can be and what a country can become. However, I think in recent years, I feel like we have been faltering at a macro level that is causing some sort of a trickle down effect, and it's hurting the foundation. It's causing cracks and rifts in there, and that's why I feel like. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you're an individual who's noticed that and is fighting tooth and nail to, in his own way, to do something about that and instill good traditional values into young people today. So some of that stems from your church activity. So why don't we talk about that? Your commitment to your faith it's evident in your journey. So how has your spiritual influence, or how has spirituality influenced your personal and professional decisions, and how do you see it reflected in the work you do within your community?
Yeah, I mean, it's really at the core of who I am. I know I'm a broken person. I'm a sinful person who messes up every day. And I accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior when I was 12. And I accepted that I can no longer be the Lord of my life, but I needed a powerful, resurrected Savior to transform the mess inside of me. Because even though I was adopted at the age of 10, I had a lot of my own junk to deal with. I was insecure. I was bitter. I was unloving. I was unthankful. I couldn't hug people, couldn't say I love you, couldn't say thank you because I was rejected so often, right? Mom passes away. I don't really have a family in Russia. I go to an orphanage, don't see love there. Stay with a host family in Spain for a month when I'm 6. Come back, no word from them, rejection again. 2 years later, go to Long Island, New York, stay with a host family for a month there, come back, rejection again. And throughout my life, and even after being adopted, so many moments of pain and rejection that it's easy to be bitter and have a heart of stone. And I see that in our culture today, and I see that why we almost let it out through politics and social media anger and bullying. But the only thing that changed my heart, and I believe can change everyone's heart, is when we allow Jesus Christ to touch that heart of stone, chisel it away, and mold it little by little as he has been molding me for the last 19 years since I accepted him as my Lord and Savior. And to go from this spirit of religion, of doing good and not bad, trying to outweigh our junk with our good, to a relationship with Jesus and God, who says all of that stuff, even your best deeds, are a dirty rag. And so when you surrender to me, I am giving you this free gift of salvation. And it took me a while. At 10, I came to America. Didn't accept Jesus until 12, because I firmly thought for those 2 years that, number one, I made it to this family. I smiled enough. The outside was good enough. The plasticky self was good enough. I could hide that heart from my family. I thought I could hide that heart of pain and hurt even from God. But over those 2 years, my parents would pray for me. We go to church, and I realized it's not a religion that saves you. It's not a religion that transforms you. It's a relationship. Just like we would with our family, spouses, or best friends. It's not this to-do list that transforms our relationships in our lives. It's this free gift of salvation. And that's what I accepted in a Walmart parking lot in Menominee Falls when I was 12. And I remember praying with my dad and older brother and just saying, God, I am so angry. I've been hurt so much. I am so broken. I need your healing. Fill my heart, restore me. And I remember just breaking down for like 20 minutes in that car, because for the first time in my life, I not only had the realization of what is true, what is good, what is the ultimate purpose in life, but also because I experienced the start of that healing, the healing that a lot of people in a Russian orphanage may never have had the opportunity to experience. It's the healing I hope my biological dad experienced, who passed away when I came back to Russia 7 years later. He passed away 6 months before I got there. He was walking across the street drunk, got hit by a car, and died on the spot. And I only pray that he had that moment of salvation, that moment of hope. And so for me, as you alluded to earlier, no matter how broken a life may be, a country may be, a relationship will be, we do have a hope. We do have a purpose in a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. And to me, when I look at how a God and the creator of this universe can give us a free gift and this blessing, if he can do that for mere sinful people like us, who are we to not extend a helping hand to somebody in the corner? Who are we to not show love, to show care? And most importantly, I talk about in my book a little bit, in the back of the book says, life is not about what others have not done or have not been for you. Rather, life is about what you will do and be for others, right? Because Jesus chose to do and be that hope and salvation for me and all of us. So faith is at the core of who I am.
Wow, that was powerful. I would describe that as very powerful. You said at the age of 12 in a Walmart parking lot. Of all places and of all the times in someone's life to find their faith, how does a 12-year-old in a Walmart parking lot in Menominee, you said, or Menominee Falls?
Yeah, Menominee Falls.
Menominee Falls. How does that moment, they have that epiphany? How does that occur?
Yeah, I mean, over those 2 years, I knew that there was something different about my family. I know they weren't perfect. I live with them every day. But I realized that they had something deep inside of them that I didn't have. And for me, for the longest time, I thought the missing piece was a loving family. And I had that loving family for 2 years at that point. But that missing piece was still there. And over those 2 years, as we go to church and we pray, and I know my parents and family were praying for my salvation as well, I know God was starting to chisel away the heart of pride, of bitterness. What makes Russians good is that pride, we're loyal and dedicated, right? But what makes us bad is that we're prideful and stubborn, right? And so for me, God had to mesh those two, take the good, but chisel away at the bad. And so when we were driving to church, it's Crossway Church now in Pilgrim Road, used to be First Alliance. At the age of 12, we're driving to Awana. It's like a youth group for kids. And I think that's the beautiful thing about God. He doesn't wait for us to clean ourselves up, to show up at church, to be saved. He takes us as we are, And in that moment, as we're driving on County Road Q, I said, Tyler, my brother, I said, Dad, you guys have something in your life that I don't have. It makes your life better, and I want that. And so as we're driving on the way to church, Dad said, well, let's talk about what we've been, praying, talking about for the last 2 years. It's the gospel message, right? We're fallen. God's perfect. We need a bridge, the mediator, Jesus, right? The arms of the cross to give us access to salvation. And so we pulled into the Walmart parking lot. There's a song actually called Parking Lot. I think it's by Cochran and Company. I met Jesus in the parking lot. So it spoke to me as well. And so it's a beautiful thing, to your question earlier, how does it happen? It happens because of God, right?
Yeah.
We pulled in that parking lot, prayed in there, and then I came to church after. So I hear all the time, if I step into I'm so bad. If I step into a church, a lightning bolt is going to hit me, or the ground will open up and fire will swallow me up. God does not say that you got to clean yourself up, because again, we cannot do it on our own. He says, come as you are, and throughout your life, it's going to be an ongoing journey. We'll mold, we'll chisel. It'll be painful at times, but then one day in heaven, in eternity in heaven, that perfection will be realized. We will be complete, whole. All that pain, insecurity, bitterness that we try to hide behind our masquerade will be gone. And that's the hope we have now. If we put down our pride, if we put down our bitterness and surrender to this free gift, life will not become perfect, but it will become so much more purposeful, fulfilling, hopeful, and ultimately enjoyable in heaven for an eternity. And eternity is a long time. People say, well, Vanya, what if you're wrong? What if you're wrong and there's only 1% chance there's a God and the salvation thing is real? Well, then I'm 10 feet under and I rot away. But I say the same question to them. I say, what if there's only 1% chance that God is real and there is an eternity of heaven and hell? And what if you are wrong? What do you have to lose? An eternity in condemnation in hell? I know it's a scary word. I don't like to use it, but it's real. So even if there's 1% chance of a suffering and burning and gnashing of teeth in hell, why is it not worth it to put down our pride and accept a free gift? It's like people who fight over the check at the bar. Oh, no, I got it. I'll pay for the meal. I'll pay for it. God says, I've paid it in full. Don't have to worry about who's going to pay for it. So that 1% chance is worth considering, and makes our time here on earth all the more meaningful and purposeful.
So you said something off camera. This is really reigniting that. You said something off camera before we started. People are hungry for religion right now. People are clamoring for something, higher calling, something to believe in. Why do you suppose that is?
As we see the statistics of Christianity, faith, people who claim to be followers of Christ, it's one of its lowest levels ever. We see the increase of loneliness, isolation, depression, anxiety, suicide at the highest level ever. But we keep on trying to pursue everything other than God. We keep saying, well, but it's this. No, it's my identity in my appearance. It's my identity in my genders. It's my identity in my job. It's my identity in my bank account. It's my identity in my relationship, in my kids. And we keep on suppressing the one thing that if you start reversing this equation, it'll even it out and make it so much better. So I say, why not try God? And I truly believe a revival is happening. As you and I were talking, churches are filling up. They're filling up with hurting, broken people. And then they're going to the hospital. The church is not a palace for saints. It's a hospital for the sinners, as someone once said, right?
Wow.
And it is so exciting to see that our identity does not have to be wrapped up in our pride, in our possessions, in ourselves. But our identity can be wrapped up in the purpose of pursuing Jesus. Because when we pursue Jesus, when we live for him, all of a sudden it's not about I and my identity. It becomes about a purpose of extending that hand, helping and blessing others. And all of a sudden, we're fulfilled with this blessing of what? Community, not loneliness. Love, not isolation. Purpose and acceptance through means of service, of community, family, rather than substance abuse, isolation, depression, and suicide. Because we are tapping out this whole idea of identity and pride in self. We are really just tapping it out. I can talk so much about Vanya, Vanya, Vanya. No, uh, we got to get back to talking about our communities. We got to get back to finding people going through things that we may have gone before or are going through now and saying, with all the strength I can muster, if I can reach into the corner, grab somebody and say, hey, I can't save you, but I can point you in the direction of the one who can save you, and that is Jesus Christ. And so my church, my and my wife's church, Spring Lake Church, we're building a third campus. We have a Bellevue campus. We have a downtown campus. We're building one in Lawrence. I know Chad, your partner and your company entrepreneur with you, his church is growing, and that's a beautiful thing. That's what it's all about. We find hope. We find community, not in religion, but in a relationship with a purposeful God, in a relationship of a purposeful service to others.
How do I follow that? That was a beautiful, incredibly beautiful speech, Vanya. Let me put myself back together now after almost bringing me to tears. There's so many things you were absolutely spot on. So many people are broken now. So many people are confused now. So many people do not know where to go now. Anxiety is riddled in this country. Everybody is just over the top. I need a pill for this. I need a pill for that. I don't know how to solve my problems. I need help. I don't know where to turn to. I am just going to eat a bullet. I mean, the suicide. I mean, I come from the military. It was 22 a day, 22 veterans a day, 22 service members a day take their lives. That was the average. That was that. Now that number has since luckily decreased, but I'm only going to be satisfied when it's at zero. Okay. It's an awful thing to hear about. And it's even more awful that so many people, not just service members, are struggling to handle the day to day, and they don't know where to turn and who to talk to. So many people are afraid to have a tough conversation with each other. Look how easy this is. Right now, I'm having a conversation with you, and you are, 40 minutes away from me over in Green Bay right now.
Yeah.
But it is certainly, it's something that really, it's actually a simple solution. It's you have the break in case of emergency. Here's your life raft, and that life raft is finding a higher calling, finding their faith. So
it is. Yeah.
So let's move over into, as you got a little bit older. So you were homeschooled, right?
Yes.
So being homeschooled, it allowed you to participate in homeschool sports. How did this unique environment, which it most certainly is a unique environment, shape your athletic and personal development?
Yeah, it was really interesting. I came from Russia with the littlest of experience in sports. At most, I was a goalie in soccer because I wasn't good enough to get up and down the field. And came to America, and families watching football, and they're playing catch with the football and the baseball in the backyard, and almost was forced into it because I'm surrounded by it. And I remember at first I wanted to be a kicker. I wanted to be the next Ryan Longwell, always practicing kicking in the backyard. And then playing catch with my brother Tyler and my dad. I said, I want to get as many spirals as I can and get to a point where 1 in every 10 throws I could throw a spiral. And all the way to then all of a sudden me playing football for 3 years, 8th grade through sophomore year of high school, to playing 6 years of basketball, 6th grade through senior year of high school. And even though those were homeschool environments, it was really cool to be part of the very first tackle football team that was homeschooled in Wisconsin, the Swisha Saints, and then their rival, the Washington County Homeschool Association. Played basketball for them for 6 years and coached for 3 years as well. So coming into a family that was big into sports, my dad played semi-pro volleyball. My mom was a cheerleader at Germantown and was active in volleyball and softball. So a lot of credit to my older brother Tyler and my dad to take this Russian kid who would, read and draw, to one of the guys at all the pickup games. Yep, one Vanya all-time quarterback and playing football and doing all that. I'm not that great, but I know I get by just enough. So all the credit goes to them.
So you mentioned wanting to be a kicker in football and eventually enjoying playing quarterback in the backyard. So like what drew you to those positions? Was it just about the spirals, or how did they contribute to your overall love for the sport?
Yeah, for me, I think it's my arm that saves me in sports. I can shoot, I can throw. I have no foot coordination. I can barely kick, I can't ice skate, I can't rollerblade.
Can you
In
dance?
baseball, dance, it's a little rough, throw in a few moves here and there. But yeah, I think it's probably because my arm saves me in sports. So yeah.
So family and friends played a significant role in your upbringing, especially through the backyard sports. Can you share a memorable moment or lesson learned from these experiences?
Oh man. So many good ones. I love sports and I've come to love sports since I came to America because they are a trampoline for life. That's such a beautiful thing. All my coaches instilled that in me. My older brother Tyler was a coach of mine. Right after that, he went and joined the Marines. So you can imagine how gentle of a coach he was for that year before the Marines. Hurrah, dude! Yes, you're a fellow Marine, and thank you guys both for your service.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, and yeah, so I would say one of those defining moments was I was playing in high school. It was my junior year, and it was Coach Gumness who had me start the game, and I was way off. I think I airballed 3 of my first 4 shots, missed my 4th shot. I played the 3 typically, like small forward in the Wisconsin swing offense. At halftime, I was just so defeated. I'm like, man, can't make a shot. I'm just awful. And it was all about me, 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 me. And Coach Gumness, I remember pulling me aside in the locker room at halftime. He said, Vanya, I believe in you. You're my shooter. Keep shooting the ball. And that just stuck with me ever since 11th grade, which is mind blowing. But sports are the trampoline for life. You need those mentors, that community of sports to strengthen your life skills, your skills of overcoming, of leadership, of selflessness,
Facing
and
adversity.
facing adversity. Absolutely. And so I would say that was one of the more defining moments in my playing career.
This is a perfect moment to bring this up. There's something that my pastor recently said. Well, it's more like 2 months ago, but it really, really stuck with me. Best golden nugget I've ever gotten. During a sermon, he was talking about what is a team? What is a community? What is a team? Right? They're one and the same. He said their goal, what they do is it's a collective that divides the tasks but multiplies the success.
I love that.
Right. I love that. I love that. That really stuck with me. And so I think about it from time to time when you're working in a team environment, which is just about darn near everywhere. And everyone understands how they fit into creating the success for the overall goal, because it's not just about Vanya, or Ryan. It's about the whole big picture of it. So I think that is perfectly fits in line with what you're saying right there about your time on your basketball team.
Yeah, for sure. And I think to your point, what you're referring to about a team environment, it's not about being unanimous, right? We don't have to be all from the same background, like the same things, have the same approach to everything, but it's united. So whether it's politics, whether it's sports, whether it's family, when we're in community and we are not unanimous, but united, we're not the unanimous states of America, right? We don't 100% agree on everything. Sports, same thing. We're not all from the same background. We don't have the same skills. But if we are united in our approach, back to faith a little bit, we do our part of the body, right? Our fruit of the spirit, we bring that to the team. That's where we have success. Because if all were the same, we'd have 11 quarterbacks in the field, and that would be pretty tough to run a play. Same thing in any sport. So I love that concept of a team, and what Team 2 helps to promote, right, is just accessibility to successful teams, successful sports. It brings out that unity and those life skills.
Yeah, appreciate the shout out too. Yeah, we're what we're trying to do and helping schools and bringing schools to the one step further in the digital age to help their families and help their booster clubs, help their sports programs. Yeah, I appreciate the shout out there. Now back to Vanya. So you coached as well then, right?
I did. My junior year, I was the assistant coach for our 7th and 8th grade team.
Mm-hmm.
And my freshman year of college, I then was the JV assistant coach. And my sophomore year of college, I was the varsity head coach. So quite the leaps and bounds there. But I learned a lot even in coaching.
Yeah. So, it gives you a unique perspective on the game. Like how has that experience impacted your approach to playing and coaching basketball?
Yeah, for me, it made me realize the importance of relationships with the players, with the need for a sense of community for these players, because in my experience, coaching a guys team, they're finding their strengths, they are working on their weaknesses, they are becoming men, they're becoming leaders, future husbands, future fathers, and for me, I had to learn that my style can't be unanimous for or the same for every single player. I had to find what made them tick. I had to spend one-on-one with them. I had to at times challenge them, make them uncomfortable, but at other times had to comfort them and encourage them. So I learned so much about the value of relationships. And in life, I truly believe not only sports, but life in general. It comes down to purpose and relationships. We want to matter. We want to be doing something impactful in relationships, right? We want to do it with others and community. So learn a ton about personal development, my weaknesses and my impatience as a person. I remember breaking a marker on a clipboard during basketball game. We were at halftime in Racine, one of our big rivals, and I was just frustrated with our lack of boxing out. And I smashed that marker into the whiteboard. And at the next practice, the guys said, "Coach, we got something for you." And they made this big reveal. And it was one of those markers with a little clip in it where you can put it in and out with the clip. So they said, just in case you ever get mad, and you can just save the marker.
All right, so we talked about some of your athletic background. Let's get into your academics. So, excelling academically as an honor student at UWGB, like that must have been quite the accomplishment. So, can you tell us about some of the challenges you faced during your academic journey and how'd you overcome them?
Absolutely. And while homeschooling has come lights and ages since not only when I was homeschooled, but while I was being homeschooled, it's a great environment for kids. We're not all antisocial people. There's social, antisocial people in public and private and homeschool environments. But even though I had such a strong and robust homeschool environment, and my mom was such a great, tough grader, I was like, man, like, is this real? That helped me prepare for college. By the same time, I had a lot of those new and unexpected things in college. had to figure out how to, set up a class registration, how to get things paid for, schedule set up. So there it was quite the shock, and for me to help that I was at community college for the first 2 years at UW Washington County, so I could commute and be home. But then junior and senior year at UW Green Bay, it was definitely an adjustment from being home to this world of change and this new structure. But in a way, homeschool did prepare me to work on my own, to set time aside for studying, deadlines, and accomplishments. So give my mom and dad a lot of credit for being tough graders. Remember showing my mom my first college paper was an A minus. So mom, your push in literature paid off. But yeah, it was definitely an adjustment. But I'm so thankful for the classmates, teachers, mentors who helped me guide me along and help me succeed in both, to your point, academics, but also student government experience. And ultimately, one of my favorite awards was UW Green Bay's Chancellor's Leadership Medallion, which is a medallion that less than 3% of all UWGB graduates had ever received or have ever received. So that was a cool accomplishment to finish my career there.
Wow, that's very impressive. Now, something that the underlying thing that I got from that a little bit there, and this isn't a knock on you, Vanya. You are an exceptional human being, but they were able to prepare you very or instill in you very strong work ethic and um, set you up for success academically. But on the social front, having the social skills, did you feel that you had the necessary social skills to navigate the variable in social groups in college?
Yeah, I think my parents did a great job with that. Whether it was, the science co-ops they put us in, the theater groups, I was in 3 plays, um, or the sports programs. Again, homeschooling had really evolved so nicely. I mean, I graduated high school in 2011, and maybe late 90s it was a little rough going, but really that 2000s and to this point, the last 24 years have been top notch. So for me, it was great. Get up early, get your work done, and then 1 p.m. and on, you're in these co-ops, you're at basketball practice, you're hanging out with friends from both homeschool, public, private background. I had all friends in those areas, so I think my parents did a good job of choosing the right curriculum, pushing academics, pushing self sufficiency, but also those opportunities to get outside the four walls of the home and get get more involved. But then at the same time, it was very helpful to have those advisors and professors come alongside me and push me to the next level in college because I think it was a balance of all of those things.
Hmm. And transitioning to your professional, excuse me, transitioning into your professional life at Schneider, you did very well there. You rose to the ranks, and you were very determined. So, what are the key lessons you learned along the way, and how did you apply them in your current role? And knowing that your current role is, something entirely different now. So,
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm so thankful for my time at Schneider. Got hired August 8th of 2016. Just thankful for my experience of having a tough leader in Javi, and tough mentors who were supportive, but they challenged me, they pushed me to not just be complacent in my process of execution of doing the daily work, but also the balance of the evolution of growing within those tasks, of jumping into areas of opportunities, of discovering new places to improve and grow. So yeah, first 5 years I was a broker in STM at Schneider. Within the second year, I was the West Coast team lead. I did that for my second, third, um, fourth, and fifth year at Schneider. So I had that market owner background, and then I was a team lead for my fourth and fifth year in STM. So dual roles, dual responsibilities, brokering as well. And then in my end of my 5th year, we're coming off COVID, and I said, "Hey, I'm looking for the next challenge." You know, it was a new role in Schneider. But for me, the other opportunity was you can create a team, you can create a position, which was not easy to do. And I said, well, Power Only is growing. It's still brokerage logistics. So I spent 6 months brokering in STM, but 6 months of doing sit-ins and watching and learning and finding areas that needed support in Power Only. And so I was able to create a position to support the Power Only team. Grew the team from 3 people to eventually onshore and offshore team of 26 that we later broke into various teams. But yeah, thankful for my time at Schneider, for my Orange family. And I'm excited to, again, now grow something new over at Renard Ventures and R7 Property Management.
Wow. That's pretty incredible. The fact that you decided, okay, I'm gonna figure out a way to create a position. I'm gonna find the need that they don't even know that they need. Show them the
Absolutely.
evidence. Hey, you do have a need for this. Here's what I can provide. Here's my solution. And voila.
Absolutely. I was super excited about the opportunity. First year and a half to 2 years was definitely a grind. I think over the last year and a half, my third, into my 4th year in Power Only, I think we had things in a really good autopilot space where we were covering a lot of areas where it just made sense to hand off the torch and allow my team to grow in other areas and for me to then create something new.
So throughout your journey of resilience, faith, and community, like those have been the recurring themes. How do these values shape your approach to leadership and influence the way you interact with others then?
For sure. I think to your point about resiliency, we all have a story. People often say, Vanya, well, I don't speak at churches. I don't do these podcasts like you do. Just had a life and it was whatever. But I don't say that's acceptable. I say no. I think we all have a story, and our story allows us to connect and build a relationship with somebody who's gone through the same thing or is going through the same thing. The power of our story, our testimony, is what builds not only resilience, it builds relationships, and it builds stronger families and communities overall. So for me, I would just encourage people who might be struggling right now that if you are hurting and you need support, find somebody who's going through a similar thing and have them guide you and help you. Or better yet, find somebody who you can help, and you will feel so much more stronger, empowered, and less selfless when you do that for others.
I I don't disagree. I think a lot of people do need that. They need to find that and they need to look for that. So what would you recommend they do? How should someone who is struggling find a way to heal, to better heal, you know,
For sure. Yes.
in
I
your
mean,
word?
yeah, for me, there's two sides of it, right? There is the professional, whether it's professional medical, professional counseling help. That's always a great avenue, right? Trusted doctors, trusted professionals. But at the same time, reach out to people like you, Ryan, like me, right? We're more than happy to get lunch, get coffee, get the conversation going. We need that community of both professionals, but also friends and family who can go by your side and not preach at you. One of my favorite things to do is, as I'm getting to know somebody, is I just sit back and listen. And people have so much in their hearts that they just want to share. They want to just let off their chest. And I love to listen. I think that's something that we can do better as a community in general. We just have to be better listeners, right? We often want to, talk and, relate, right? That's natural to say, oh, yeah, you went up north. I went up north too. You have a boat. I got 2 boats, right? So it's natural to get into that conversation, but it's so important to sit back and listen, say, hey, tell me who you are. My grandpa was a prison chaplain for many years. And one of my favorite stories is he'd come into this one prisoner's um, visiting area, and he'd set the Bible on the table, and he'd say, "Hey, how's it going?" And he's like, "Oh, you preacher man, here to preach at me? No, Grandpa's like, no, just, let's talk. And he would just sit there and listen. He did this for a few months. Eventually, the guy pointed at the Bible and said, aren't you ever going to open that and tell me what's up here? And Grandpa said, well, if you want me to, of course I can. So that's my favorite thing. It's not about pounding people over the head with our ideas, our fixes, our Bibles, our faith. Just listening, just being there for somebody. So I'm more than happy to grab lunch, coffee with anybody. And people talk about, the book, it's been great, but I've given away over 500 free copies. So it's not a business venture for me. It's more of that ministry venture for me. So more than happy to mail somebody a copy as well. And I just encourage them by listening.
So speaking of your book, where can we find your book?
Yeah, for sure. You can find it online at youarehereforapurpose.com.
Mm-hmm.
There, on Facebook. It's on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, anywhere books are sold. So appreciate you mentioning that.
Yeah, absolutely. I have my autographed copy right here.
Very nice. That's awesome.
It's a great book.
Thank you for reading it.
So, which is an excellent segue to what was the inspiration behind that? When did you decide, I think I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write a book, and I'm going to do it because I think I want to uplift others. So, where'd that come from? How did you get the idea? How long were you working on that?
Yeah, for me, it started with just journaling. I just want to put things that were on my heart down, whether it was from remembering memories in Russia or things during the adoption. I started a Google Word document in June of 2017. And over the years, I just remember scrolling through and on our honeymoon showing it to my wife, Callie. And she said, you have a lot of material there. It could be a book. And I'm like, I know people over the years have said when I speak at churches or senior homes, they said, you should write a book about your story. And I just never felt like it was the right timing. But coming out of COVID and me wanting to highlight hope, community, relationships, purpose to others. I compiled this Google Doc of journals into chapters, into a book, and found some great publishers. Trilogy with TBN was the one I ended up choosing. And they helped me to share my story of encouragement, of purpose with others.
Wow. And all that time, and it took your wife telling you, you know what, you really need to write a book.
Well,
isn't that just like a husband having to listen to the wife and you realize, yeah, my wife's right.
That is so true. That is so true. And we all have a story, and we can share it in a book. We can share it in person. But coming out of COVID, especially, it made sense to do it then. And of course, listening to my wife made sense to do as well.
Absolutely. So you're married, you have a marriage. You got married, what was it, 2 years ago?
Yeah, in November of 2022.
Wow. And how's that going so far?
Very thankful. Very thankful. I think God knew there was only one person who could put up with my stubbornness, with my weird Russian vibes. And Callie just complimented that so well. She's so patient, so supportive and loving. And just very thankful for just the partnership and the loving covenant that we have together.
So you're married, you're musically talented. I didn't mention that earlier, but you play the piano, was that right?
I do, yeah. Classically trained, and I play on our worship team at Spring Lake currently.
And you're an author. That adds depth already to your diverse life, incredibly diverse life. I mean, if you're an onion, you're a pretty big darn onion, full of layers.
How do these try too much?
Yeah. How do these aspects complement your athletic and civic engagements? And what do they mean to you personally?
Yeah, for sure. For me, a big part of it is giving back. My parents had a great example of love, of transformation by adopting me. So whether it's volunteering and helping my community, serving at church, or being in elected office, those are all platforms for making lives better, for support, for encouragement. And area of politics, politics at its core defined as a struggle for power. There's politics in sports, politics in government. But if we can take that idea of politics and the struggle for power away and turn it to relationships and representation, that's where I think sports, civics, volunteerism really become selfless, and they become
Mhm.
about community, about hope, inspiration, and purpose. So we really got to keep an eye on that balance of, is this about struggle for power, or is this a struggle for a healthy relationship and a healthy representation of a healthy community?
So speaking of community and what would you say, uh, elected positions and giving back, like you mentioned, you've held, you were police and fire commissioner, one of five, was it?
Yes, served on the Green Bay Police and Fire Commission for almost 3 years, thanks to Mayor Schmidt's appointment. So that was a great experience.
Wow. And on top of that, you're, what was it, 2 years ago now? You got elected to the board of trustees for the Hobart Village. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. Just started my second term here in the village of Hobart, a community of about 11,000 people, and it's been an honor serving this community.
That's fantastic. And you got that at the age of 29, which presumably that is a rarity of someone so young to achieve, that level. So with that being said, are there any future aspirations within, local government?
Yeah, for sure. I think we're still digging through the records, but I think I'm one of the youngest, if not the youngest elected in Hobart, at least. I know there's been 18-year-olds in Manitowoc and other areas. But no, I'm thankful to have had this experience in my 20s. But as far as moving forward, I'll be 32 here on May 22nd, and continuing my role as a trustee is something I definitely want to do. But obviously, keeping an eye in the future, if the president's seat opens up, I'd be happy to run. I wouldn't want to run against Rich. He's a great leader in our community. But if he ever steps down, I think in 2 years, we'll have set the record for longest serving president. He'll be at 24 years. Yeah, whenever he's ready to give me a shot, I'm more than happy to step in. And I have stretch goals, love the private sector, but if it's the communities and God's will, would love to, have a stretch goal of a county executive and maybe governor one day. But for now, very content to serve my community as a trustee.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So with all the various extracurriculars, we'll call it, uh, how do you balance your civic duties with your personal and professional life? Because for me, I'm constantly looking for books that, like, how can I do this, 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 and this? How does Vanya do it? And that's going to be a great takeaway for our listeners for sure.
It will be. And I think it can tie into sports as well, right? I think often we have such a busy schedule and we want to say yes to everything. I want to go to that club. I want to go to that practice. I want to be in 5 sports. And same thing for me. Over the years, I've had to learn to say no, right? How can I choose to say no to certain things and add stronger quality to the few things I am doing? So I mean, at one point I was on 4 different boards: Salvation Army Board, How Community Resource Center Board, the Chamber of Commerce Board, the Current Young Professionals Board. Um, I was part of the current YP, the Young Professionals at Schneider too. And so when I got married, I had to say, hey, I cannot be a people pleaser. I need to be a God pleaser, number one, but then also honor my wife. And so I've stepped down from almost every board I was on. My volunteerism extends to Spring Lake Church currently, my elected duties, and then what I do through You Are Here for a Purpose. So it has to be that balance. It's easy to say yes to everything, um, but when we say no, we are able to add quality and value to what we do. And again, kind of plugging what you guys do, I think it's great. You're um, taking that weight off of people's shoulders, and you're allowing them to say yes to those quality things and giving them that efficiency of scheduling and fundraising, of planning and coordinating. So I think it's awesome that you guys are able to aid people in what you do through Team Two.
Again, really appreciate that. That's very kind words. And yes, that we certainly that's our mission right there, to help the schools, the programs, and the parents, for sure. So we're getting close on time here. So we've covered your upbringing from Russia, which is really something to be said right there, that started the foundation for who is Vanya. Your schooling, athleticism, and your professional career. And you're married to Callie, is your wife's name, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so do you and Callie, you guys intend on starting a family of your own?
Yes, we are hoping to in the next 2 to 3 years. I know when we got married, we said we wanted the first 3 to 5 years just to have time for us, continue to date, if you will. But it's something in the foreseeable future, absolutely. But currently, we're just enjoying it, just living life, dating, getting to know each other better, even in our married time. Have goals to save up for a house, land, and would love to build sometime. I come from a construction background. My dad's a master electrician, and so
Wow.
would love to, again, build something not only through a company, but also physically.
There's something to be said about that. If you're doing something with your own hands,
Yes.
I guess that easily ties back into, Jesus was a carpenter. Am I wrong?
Yeah, correct. He was. Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
very true.
Yeah. So, I would just like to say, really appreciated you taking the time to have a conversation with us. And, producer Chad, I know he's enjoying this. I'm enjoying this as well. And this has been fantastic. So for any of our viewers and listeners, here's where we can, if you want to find and follow Vanya, posted his socials and website in the video as well, and in the comments. So again, thanks a lot for joining us on After the Game podcast, brought to you by Team 2. And thanks again, Vanya. Really appreciate your time.
Yes, Ryan. Appreciate you and Chad having me. You guys keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to After the Game, brought to you by Team 2, your all-in-one sports website platform. Team 2, we're not just a platform, we're a part of your team too. Until next time, stay in the game.